Hello, Magic Casters of all shapes and sizes! My name is Chance, welcome to my Spellbook, and thank you so much for tuning into the 12th ever episode of our 3rd level spell series. Today we have an amazing spell for us, and if you've been playing D&D for any real measure of time, I am almost certain this spell has saved your neck on multiple occasions. Today we're going to be taking a look at Counterspell. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only. This spell is usable by the Sorcerer, Warlock, and the Wizard, and it is found in the good old Player's Handbook, where it belongs. Let me tell you, D&D would not be as great as it is right now without this spell. Man, is it a great one. That being said, let's take a quick look at its mechanics so we can figure out exactly what it is. The effect at a glance is as followed. Interrupt the spell of 3rd level or lower. If the spell is above 3rd level, you can make a check using your spellcasting ability to attempt to interrupt the spell. The DC is 10 plus the spell's level. The cast time is 1 reaction. The range is 60 feet, which is actually pretty impressive. The duration is instantaneous. And at higher levels, the spell is stopped if it is at least equal in level to the spell slot used. So if you want to stop a 5th level spell for sure, hit it with a 5th level spell slot. Make sense? Great! The components are just somatic, which is pretty cool. You basically just flip it the bird and it flutters off. I think that's hilarious. Man, what a great looking spell. And the school is Abjuration, as I'm sure you've probably already guessed. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at its full description so you can get the full effect. You attempt to interrupt the creature in the process of casting a spell. If the creature is casting a spell of 3rd level or lower, its spell fails. It has no effect. If it is casting a spell of 4th level or higher, make an ability check using your spellcasting ability. The DC equals 10 plus the spell's level. On a success, the creature's spell fails and has no effect. Amazing stuff. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using spell slot of 4th level or higher, the interrupted spell has no effect if its level is less than or equal to the level of the spell slot you used. And that reaction, by the way, is considered to be one which you take when you see a creature within 60 feet of you that casts a spell, as I'm sure you've already guessed, because it kind of makes sense based off of everything that we've gone over already. To reiterate an earlier point, anyone who's been playing D&D for any real measure of time probably has a story or two related to Counterspell. Honestly, I got a couple, but it wasn't me who was using it. I actually have a nasty habit of never taking the spell. To be fair, strange as it may sound, I don't usually pick full casters. I really like the 1/4 and the half casters. I've been particularly in love with the Arcane Trickster for some time now. I just really like their playstyle. But let me tell you, this spell has personally saved the party I'm in a ton of headache, namely up against well-known spells like Fireball that would probably destroy us since we have a nasty habit of huddling together. I just think it's great. Be sure to mention any stories you have about Counterspell down beneath in the comments section. I'm always super curious to see what you guys say. That being said, let's come up with some alternative uses here. So one of the obvious ones is using it to help you punch up. In a battle of magical strength, it actually very rarely comes down to spell slots per se, or even spells cast, assuming they all do damage. The biggest thing it comes down to is essentially initiative. Casters, as I'm sure all of you know, have a very low hit die pool. What that means is when it comes to caster versus caster combat, he who strikes first usually comes out on top. Because all the other caster has to do is just wallop him with his highest level spell slot that does the most damage, and bam, he's fried, for lack of a better term. This is what gives you the advantage. Counterspell essentially turns it into more like a chess game than anything else. Can you justify using a higher level spell slot on Counterspell against his potentially unknown spell? It's kind of a risk, kind of a gamble, but it can also be calculated as well. As a DM, I always love to throw hints as to what spells are being cast. For example, if they want insight, I'll have them roll a quick Arcana check, whether with advantage or disadvantage. If they personally can cast the spell, I'll have them roll it with advantage. If it's a spell they've seen before, I'll have them do a straight roll. If it's a spell they've never seen before, I'll have them roll with advantage, and I'll tweak the DC accordingly. I've had a lot of luck with this in the past, so if you guys think it's a good idea, be sure to let me know. Same if you have any other ideas on how to help casters figure out what spell is being cast before they cast Counterspell. Another great use for this is actually confusing foes. So being that the components are just somatic, it makes sense that you can actually cast it from the shadows. So if there's this big court wizard that appears and he's trying to intimidate his lesser understudies, it'd be kind of funny if you just counterspelled him in the middle of casting a super impressive spell, something like pyrotechnics maybe, and he'd look all confused and a little bit ashamed, and his students might get a good laugh out of it. I think that'd be kind of fun. This is also a great spell used when you have to protect people. I mention this example a lot because it's one of my favorite quests to give out: protect the fragile NPC. It's fun because although it is combat based, it's not DPS focused. It's actually quite the opposite. It turns into very careful planning, very creative approaches, and ultimately strategy. This is a great spell to have in your pocket if you're going up against anything like that. That being said, let me know if you have any alternative uses, ideas, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, or stories. I really do love hearing from you guys. Also, if you like that cool hand-drawn Dragonborn and you like your own hand-drawn D&D character, please check out the guild hall to figure out exactly how to do that. That being said, I hope you have a great day, and as always, happy casting.